Elections Canada is taking new measures to protect your vote. They include everything from beefing up IT infrastructure to preventing foreign meddling to clamp down on misinformation online. But will those measures be enough? Joining me now is the Director of the School of Public Administration at Dalhousie University, Lori Turnbull. Lori, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So the Communications Security Establishment reported this year that Canada will likely face foreign interference in this election, but identifying a problem and being prepared to face it are two different things. In terms of what Elections Canada has done, are we in fact ready for this threat?
We hope so, right? I think most of what Elections Canada is doing is very information-based. They're gathering information, working with other organizations like Global Affairs about so that they're aware of what threats are out there. But then it's really about trying to help citizens fortify themselves and be aware of sources of misinformation and be able to be kind of have the self-defense against those things. So making sure that we're able to recognize what's false information versus what's correct information.
So we also have Elections Canada has a social media team appointed to looking out for misinformation, but it's not responsible for correcting inaccurate information about political candidates or their policies. Is an election safe so long as misinformation exists online? I mean, what are people supposed to do, potential voters supposed to do in the face of this misinformation if they don't know how to navigate it?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably Elections Canada would say we are keeping a lot of information on our website. You can always come back and check with us, but at the same time, it's really about voters trying to make sure that they're aware enough and that they're really second checking information that they're not necessarily sure of. And this could be things like people pretending to be Elections Canada online, giving misinformation about where we vote, what you need to vote. And so things like that can really affect, you might be a very informed voter who's plans to go to the polls and cast your ballot that day, and somehow you're interfered with. And so even little things like that, even transactional things, we have to be super aware.
One major change this election is expat voting. After a Supreme Court ruling found they had the right to vote regardless of how long they'd lived outside of Canada. So that means that the number of expat voters is expected to increase from about 11,000 to 30,000. Does this leave us more vulnerable to voter fraud, more potential points of entry into the election?
I mean, my initial response is I hope not. I mean, we'll be taking measures to make sure that the votes that come in from overseas are, valid. But at the same, and if we're taking the same measures that we always took before, and we're increasing the security around everything, there shouldn't necessarily be a higher threat just because there are more voters. However, this is the first time. This election seems to have a whole lot of concern around it regarding cybersecurity and regarding all the different threats that could be coming in from inside and out, right? And so in a sense, I think everybody's kind of watching this very closely to see what the outcome's going to be. But I don't necessarily think that more foreign voters is going to increase the risk.
Lori, yesterday we had someone on our show to explain to Canadians just how easy it is, how much information you need, what sort of piece of identification you need in order to vote, really showing Canadians that it doesn't take a lot of effort to get out there. But I suppose the flip side to that could be with little effort means you could just as easily perhaps take advantage and game that system. Off the top of your head, in your mind, with your expertise, where is the weakest point in our defense against outside influence in this election?
I think the weakest point is information in the form of something that looks like news, and it's really not. Like we have to be very careful, but we can look at our voter registration card. We can go to Elections Canada website and see where we vote, what we need to vote. That stuff is very easily verifiable. But I think what really the threats are is information about candidates, information about parties that is actually false and is intended to try to manipulate your vote. Sometimes it's really hard to tell. Sometimes something comes across as totally ridiculous and okay, I've got a reason to think twice about this. But some of it actually would not necessarily cause your eyebrows to raise, and that I think is where the threat is.
All right, Lori, well, we'll all be paying attention to how Canada votes later this month. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, too.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.